if I could be a paradise.
Today's video is going to be on this Gemini palette from Melt Cosmetics. This is going to be my first impressions and my 2 looks in 1 palette. I did do 2 different looks with this, and I wanted to show you guys the versatility that I felt and saw within the palette. And there are 10 shades. These are the colors right here, and to me when I first saw this I thought of like a really grungy kind of neutral palette. And for me personally, my neutrals aren't browns, they're more of like mauve colors and purples and things like that, like burgundy colors. Those colors are more of my neutrals because I feel like those go better with my eyes and my skin tone, and I really just love purples in general. I don't really consider browns as my neutrals just because to me browns are just kind of boring, I guess, and my hair is already kind of dark, like it just doesn't really, I don't feel like it works for me. So I feel the best and the happiest when I use mauves if I want to use like eyeshadows or things like that. This right here is the box that the palette came in, and it's black and white with the green melt right here, like a green foil. And then on the back it has the ingredients on here, where it's made from, what the palette is called, and the weight of this palette. So the net weight of this palette is 18.8 grams or 0.66 ounces, and that's a pretty hefty palette, I think. 18.8 grams is a pretty hefty palette. Each single eyeshadow weighs at least 1.8 grams, which is pretty big. The price of this palette, I believe, was around $54, I think, somewhere around there, 50 something dollars, and I think it's totally worth the money. I think the only thing that I wish I knew, I did not know that this was a limited edition palette until after I bought this palette, when people were talking about, oh, it's limited edition, make sure you get it. And I really hope that they do end up making this palette part of their permanent collection, because I think this would be a really awesome palette to have as far as like your staples go. I want to show you guys the packaging of the palette. The palette looks like this. It is a long palette, I guess. Something that I can compare it to, something that I'm going to compare the palette to is the Jaclyn Hill palette. Not really a good comparison, I guess, but as you can see, it's just as long as her palette, but it's really short. It's about like a third of her palette. I have 2 more palettes that I want to I have 2 other palettes that I want to compare the sizes to. And so you have the Melt Cosmetics palette. This is the Kristen Dominique palette, the latte one. And it is slightly smaller but a little bit longer. And the third palette that I want to compare this to is the Dose of Colors Marvelous Mauves palette. I love this palette. So this one is smaller and you can see it is longer. But going back with this palette, if you see there are 10 shades here. I don't know, I just feel like it's such a really good neutral palette as far as like neutral palettes go. The greens might be something kind of unexpected because you don't really notice a lot of palettes that are neutral palettes having greens in them, and I think this is a really awesome idea. I think this is really good. The greens are actually not that bad. It looks really dark in the pan, but then as soon as you put them on your eyes, it's not that bad at all. And the colors are really buildable, which is what I love about these shadows. I did 2 looks, and I will post clips at the end of my little ramble. That way you guys can see what I did and how I did them and what colors I used. Within those 2 looks, I did use every single color in this palette. I kind of broke it down to half and half. So I used this half for the first look and then the second half for this look that you see right here. I will also insert a little swatch clip. They are finger swatches, but just so that you can see the color on my skin tone and see how it works. I do also want to say that there are 8 mattes in here. This one I would say is more of like a shimmery color. This one in the color Gemini is more of like a packed or pressed pigment. It's a little bit more chunky, it applies more glittery, you can see the glitter particles in them. But as far as goals is a very shimmery metallic kind of color. It's more of a pressed eyeshadow rather than like a pressed pigment. I do want to just kind of say that this All of these colors are super buildable. They're very, very soft. They are, I don't know, it's just really, these are really good eyeshadows. I have never actually tried Melt Cosmetics eyeshadows before. I do have a stack that my sister bought, which I still have, don't tell her that, but I do still have this stack that she lent to me, and I haven't used it, and I don't know why, because these eyeshadows were awesome. They blended beautifully. They were so easy to work with, and it is a really good quality palette. Like I said before, I think this is a really good grungy neutral palette, and I love it. I love the color combinations. I think the greens go really well with my eyes. In fact, I feel like it makes my eyes a little bit darker, a little bit deeper, more dark, like my soul. I haven't been super excited for an eyeshadow palette in a while, and especially something like this with browns and a black. You could do so much with this palette. You could use just one shadow, you could use two shadows, or you could do a smoky green look like this, or you could do my second look and more of a neutral everyday type of thing. I really, really, really like this palette upon first impression, and I will continue to use this and let you guys know, keep you guys updated. Seriously, the mattes are so soft and pigmented. I literally cannot say anything else. I mean, that's pretty much about it. It's all good, and I'm really serious. This palette is really, really good, and I'm really picky about my eyeshadows too. I think that is it for this first impressions, and I overall really, really like this palette upon my first impression. I really like it. I think I'm going to use it some more because the colors in here are really, really nice, and these are, I mean, even the greens are a really nice color, and I think this is something that I was looking for as far as makeup palettes go. I was looking for something not too run-of-the-mill, but then also had like a little punch to it. So I really, really like this palette. I love that there are neutrals in here that you can work with, and then there's like a little oomph, you know, a little oomph color just in case you want to turn it up a little bit, and that is awesome. I think that is all I have to say about this palette. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Let me know if you're going to get this palette. If you... Now I'm going to show you how I got this look and another look, and stay tuned if you want to see that. Other than that, I will just end it right here, and I will see you guys later. Thanks for watching. Bye!
Would you do that for me? Yeah, I'd fly this whole world twice if I could be your paradise. Only 'cause we never say what we think, waiting for the perfect way. Time zone speak, got me on delay, 'cause across a million seas, would you do that for me? Times, and I'd run all the red lights across a million seas just to have you next to me. Paris and Tokyo, I go where I have to go.